You've built this amazing business. It's turning over millions of dollars a year. It's having health impacts on people, and you have customers that love your product. What does success look like for you in 5 years?
I feel like the impact of what we're doing with pine pollen is only still very early. Despite getting some good signals now, in 5 years' time, I hope that more people globally can be impacted with the healing properties of pine pollen, and that we can, at that point, have turned a whole lot of our profit from the business into impact in community and other areas and supporting various community projects, charities. That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be success.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Wealth. Today I'm joined by Carl. Carl, why don't you give us the TLDR on who you are and how you got here?
Sounds good, man. So my name is Carl Meyer. I was born in Auckland, in Onehunga, but grew up in Wellington, where I went to Wellington College and studied at Victoria University, doing a degree in environmental science and biology.
Okay.
And after, I should actually talk about uni. While doing the science degree, I actually created a business accidentally.
Yeah.
So my first business was a platform called Vic Deals.
Okay.
Which people from Wellington of a certain age may know. It has around 200,000 members. It's an online digital community, essentially for students to buy and sell stuff, find flatmates, and talk about what's going on in Wellington. And I sold that business when I was 23, just after I'd left uni. But I basically created it so that students could avoid trade me fees,
right,
and have a digital notice board, because the ones at uni were bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then today?
Yeah, and then right now I'm the founder of a natural health company called BioGold, and we create a testosterone support liquid drop product, which boosts testosterone and is extracted from New Zealand pine tree pollen.
That's cool. That's awesome. New Zealand pine tree pollen. Is that considered a native species?
It's not a native species, but I believe it's our most common tree, the pine tree.
Right.
I think that we have probably almost 3 million hectares of pine trees in New Zealand.
Wow.
Which, to give context, the entire kiwi fruit industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, is based on less than 20,000 hectares, and pine trees cover 3 billion hectares. So
3 billion.
Sorry. Pine trees cover 3 million hectares.
Yeah. Right.
And kiwi fruit is less than 20,000.
Right. Wow. Okay. That's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. Yeah. Pine trees. We actually have too many pine trees, and pine is an interesting species because on one hand we have people paying to plant them, and we also simultaneously are paying people to eradicate pines as well, and cut them down and poison them, and because they actually outcompete native species. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I recently had someone on the pod, his second episode, Adam, who is a kind of he helps people with native species and doing stuff on land, specifically around the native habitat, which is really cool. But I was asking, because there's a lot. We had an episode all about how do you while kind of being the steward of the land, extract productivity and income through your land. And that's why I asked if it was native.
Big question. And just to be clear, I'm on Team Native. I am a biodiversity advocate, student, appreciator, and I agree with the statement that New Zealand has too many pine trees. I feel we don't need to plant anymore. We have more.
Why? Yeah, it seems weird to poison if you're planting, right?
Yeah.
Is that for carbon tax credits?
The planting is often for the carbon credits, but also for forestry and logs and timber and all the other industries around forestry. Right. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But my view is that pine trees are valuable. They are a source of a lot of energy that we can use to help people. Right. And so we've got it here. We should use it and convert pine forests into other forms of energy through a variety of ways. And one of those ways is us capturing the pollen and turning it into a high value health product that helps people's health.
That's awesome.
As well as using money from such projects to support community initiatives, including possibly biodiversity and native forest regeneration.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you kind of gave us like a little bit of a backstory as well, which was kind of cool. And interestingly, it seems like obviously you were a tinkerer and a builder very early, before uni, and like building up to uni. Were there any crazy projects you had that kind of were entrepreneurial or creative and kind of something like that?
So my first real one was Vic Deals, this Facebook group essentially that I ended up selling for enough money to allow me to travel the world and work without working for 2 years.
Okay, cool.
And invest in crypto and all this other stuff.
Okay.
But in between that one and what I currently do now with BioGold, there was another business. There was another seed that was planted, which was, so I was living in Costa Rica in the jungle. I was just enjoying life. I had sold this business for what now is, I guess, considered small potatoes, but at the time felt like a lot. And I kind of got sick of doing nothing. Like I wasn't using my brain. I was just lying on the beach, and it had been doing that too long. And I wanted to engage again with the world and help people and do stuff. And so I applied for, I was just applying for interesting opportunities, just, to work on things, messaging people. Yeah. And I had my phone ring in the middle of the night in Costa Rica, and I answered the phone, and I didn't quite catch the name of the person who they said they were from, but then they started asking me all these questions that I just started answering. And it went on, and after half an hour, they said, "Oh, look, you've passed this next stage of this process." And I was like, what even is that? It was too late to say, who is this? Long story short, I got accepted into this program in Singapore, where they paid entrepreneurs to go and come up with business ideas. And so I got paid to go live in Singapore, and I briefly was working on a robotics project with looking at harvesting and pruning kiwi fruit orchards with autonomous vehicles.
Okay.
So that project didn't take off. Right. But
what year was that then?
That was 2018.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Slightly too early.
Yeah, well,
in a way, because a lot of that's coming to fruition now as well, right? There's lots of, you might have another crack at it maybe in the future.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Cool. Yeah. So that was, it's hard. Everything you've done is apart. Well, the first one was bits, and then you did a bit of robotics, which is atoms, and you're really still in the atom game now, mixed with e-commerce.
Yeah. It's interesting what game we're in. Yeah. Because so we have a company turning pine tree pollen into a testosterone boosting health supplement. And initially I thought I was in the game of creating a new export industry and diversifying New Zealand's exports to be more sustainable and high value and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I previously worked for the Ministry for Primary Industries in a kind of policy role, innovation, looking at that kind of stuff. Yeah. But as soon as I started sharing the prototype pine pollen products with people to get feedback, and got their feedback saying, whoa, this really like changed my health. I'm feeling so much better. I had actually like a big change happen inside me where now my primary reason for doing this is to help people's health and just to serve people in that way.
Okay. That's interesting.
So I'm really in the game.
So you do feel like the race you were racing when you first started after the robotics one. Now, how did the robotics thing end? Was it like traumatic or pretty kind of just something that kind of didn't quite get the momentum to be too bad, I guess?
Two things. The first was we had trouble raising the funding.
Yeah.
And then the second was that the co-founder's wife got pregnant and he needed a more stable income than this unproven robotics project with this crazy guy from New Zealand. So, So then we put it on ice. And in that time, I started researching. I was actually kind of looking for high value natural products, natural plants that grow in New Zealand that have proven health benefits, existing markets overseas, high value. And I started going to the library every day to read books about plants, looking for just opportunities, essentially.
Okay.
And then when I came across pine pollen in a book, I was like, pine, how? I was like, we have a lot of pine. Started reading about its health properties, and I was like, whoa, this could really help a lot of people. You know, it's good for hormones. Yeah. It's anti-aging. It's anti-inflammatory. Yeah. It helps with energy levels. But then when I read that it contained a bio-identical plant-based testosterone in pine pollen, it completely blew my mind, because I realized that this was a massively untapped opportunity for the country and to help people, essentially. I was like, people are going to want this.
Right. Well, yeah, a lot of people need more testosterone in our society.
Well, it's part of health. It's part of health. And there's a natural decline in testosterone as we age. Yeah. So it's roughly 1% per year after the age of 30.
Oh, man.
And it happens to everyone. It's normal. Yeah. Like, it's natural that happens. Yeah. But there are things that we can do to help, like support and
to kind of reduce the velocity of the downward curve.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's cool. Upward curve.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe you reverse it, right? Because everyone's trying to obviously optimize their health now, and that's obviously been especially over, I would say, like the last 10 years has really been something that a lot of people are focused on, is longevity, wellness, and it's become top of mind. And I think it was taking steam, and then through the pandemic and post-pandemic, it's become even more top of mind for people in the zeitgeist, right? But perhaps also because there's so many more vectors of which our well-being is being challenged or compromised.
Absolutely. And I was hoping we'd talk about this, because for me, wealth is, as I'm sure you're aware, is so much more than about money. Money is definitely a part of it, but these other elements of health and purpose and our sense of peace and all these other, it's so broad, but like health is a huge pillar of it. For sure. And it's interesting hearing like the New Zealand economy in a bit of a tough time. Right. We've continued to grow through that. And I think that reflects people investing in their health as the number one priority, because without our health, nothing can happen. With health, anything is possible.
Yep, I second that. As someone that had a recent string of poor health situations back to back, and it's not great. It makes everything else obviously much harder, and it means that certain things, it doesn't matter how much resource you have if you've slipped a disc in your neck or something like that. Right.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, I had a slip disc. And I got very sick from the vaccine as well.
Oh, dude.
First, and then got a slip disc after that.
Oh, you got rolled.
So I got rolled for almost 3 years of my life. So while I was building acuity, which was pretty gnarly, to be honest.
And now you're doing Brazilian
Well, I
jiu-jitsu.
did that the whole time.
Wow.
For it, yeah. That's how I got the slip disc.
Oh, dude.
And I probably went back to training after the vaccine injury too quick, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because my heart rate resting went from like 60 to 90 overnight. And when I first reacted, it was over 100 resting. So it was terrible. And then that brought on a load of inflammatory issues. So that's why I'm super interested by your product around the inflammation side. And then, and it just kind of rolled on. And like you say, it doesn't really matter about how much capital you have. But it also means if you don't have health, it actually makes it much harder to make decisions to improve your wealth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I find that for me, the money side is a byproduct of clear thinking and combined with, it's so many things, but having like that, my center really strong and then going outwards and giving my gift to the world.
Yeah.
So the stronger my center is, and that includes my health, the greater and deeper the gifts I can give to the world are.
Totally. Yeah, that totally resonates with me at the moment. I'm on this whole new thing of this concept of dying empty. Don't know if you've heard about it.
Tell me about that.
You can Google it, I guess. But essentially, it's this kind of meme that's going around, I guess, as like quotes and stuff, and people are talking about it a bit online. And it's all about kind of giving everything into the world, like all your ideas, all your creative energy, like basically giving everything to the world, because that's all we have is an ability to give through producing something, producing relationships, producing trust, producing invention, producing knowledge or the passing of knowledge. And, it's super inspiring to me for sure.
Well, it's also how we get satisfaction and fulfillment. Like when I go to sleep at night knowing I gave everything I could, that it's the best feeling ever. And it's also the converse is true, where I feel frustrated if I wasn't able to give.
Right.
Just on the health part, maybe it's worth mentioning a bit about my story.
Yeah, please.
Because I have also had some struggles there, like many of us do. Yeah. While I was starting the pine pollen business, I was looking to raise money for the business and get investment, and that was the story I'd been told of, like
I love this. I like that this is going. Carry on.
So the story I was shown or told was that to have a successful business, you should raise investment capital, and I was in a setting with angel groups and having that be like the if you're good enough, you can get angel investment. And that was like my belief at the time. And I had a good idea, but the business and raising that funding was so stressful that I started to get so stressed out trying to get this business off the ground and raise the investment and deal with all the complex emotions that come with
being rejected every day,
and questioning
your ideas.
Totally. That frustration and putting all this energy in and all of that, and trying to find traction throughout it, and not having an income at the time. And it got so stressful that the stress actually for me converted into low level anxiety, and then medium level anxiety, and then high level anxiety. And then I started being like, whoa, this must be what anxiety felt. And I was like, and it was the most terrible thing. I really have so much compassion for anyone that suffers with anxiety. It is really, really hard. It's the most awful thing. And then what happened for me was it kind of also went into like depression. And I was so low, so just like defeated. I had all these other things going on in my personal life at the time, family stuff, like everything seemed like it was going wrong all at once. And I was in a pretty bad place. My friends and family all very worried about me, and I guess at the lowest point I couldn't even
get out of bed to like go for a walk around the block. You know, I was just like, it was all too hard and too heavy and too much.
Right.
And what happened was somewhere in this mindstorm and this depression, I had the thought of like, I need just a reset. I need to just change everything, because what I'm currently doing, where I'm currently living, everything, whatever it is, it's not working. Yeah. So I need to change it. And I had this idea that I wanted a reset, and like a spiritual reset was what the idea was. And so I booked in to go and live at an ashram. Okay. Up the Kapiti coast. Okay. And volunteer and just do gardening and help with, help around the plants and painting walls and all that kind of thing, and meditate and do some yoga. And it was free, it was volunteering, and I just was like, okay, I'm going to put everything on pause and just go do that. And then COVID happened. I was booked in to go, but then I got this phone call. The country was going to lockdown at the time, and it got cancelled. Oh no! And I was in a really tough spot, and ended up kind of basically asking the universe for a miracle of like, I need a miracle. I need something. And it was the day of when the government announced that by midnight tonight, the country's going to level 4 lockdown. Right. Wherever you are at midnight, you stay there and for the foreseeable future. And I was in a really just bad place. It was just not in a stable situation at all. It was chaos. Yeah. And I couldn't be where I was. And so I asked the universe for a miracle. Just like, I was like, if there's a God, I'm ready to receive help. Yeah. And I had called up the guy who ran the ashram that I was meant to go to, and explained like, dude, I'm like, can I still come? I know it's cancelled. Can I just be there? And he's like, oh, nah, I'm sorry, man. I was planning to just meditate for a month by myself, and I'm sorry, it's not really in the flow, but tell me, what's your story? Where are you at? And I told him everything, and he kind of just like gave me his blessing and wished me good luck. And then it was like the evening by that time, and I was like still waiting and just like in despair. And then I get this random phone call on my phone, and the guy's like, hi, Carl, my name's John. I've been given your number by a friend. Apparently you need somewhere to be for this lockdown. You need help or whatever. And he happened to run another, a yoga retreat center in Otaki. Okay. And he said, you need to email me right now with who you are, what's your situation, what's going on, and us will decide if you can come out here or not. And so I was like typing this thing as fast as I could. I wasn't at home, and my phone was on like 1%, and the time was ticking down. And I sent this email off trying to basically sell myself, like, I'm a good guy and help me. And I sent the email, and my phone like died. I wasn't sure if the email had sent properly, and I was like, not quite far from home, and I was like, oh my gosh. But I kind of prayed that it had sent, made it home, charged my phone, turned it on, and got a call back. And he said, Carl, we'd love to have you out with us, pack your bits and pieces, and we'll see you tonight. Wow. And I drove out, like basically put all my stuff in my truck and drove out into the unknown. I just knew that I was going to be in a better place than where I was. Yeah. And that phone call, when you hung up the phone, I had this I was crying. It was this whole like emotional release. It was like the first thing that had gone right in my life in like, a year and a half. Yeah. And I had been so like just depressed, and everything was like wrong and heavy. And I felt this biochemical shift happen in my body of like, totally. And it was this whole thing of I'd asked for a miracle, like asked the universe for something, and it had kind of like something had come through. There was like a signal came back of some kind. Yeah. And I ended up living at this retreat center for 3 or 4 months, healing myself back to health through yoga, meditation, journaling, counseling with someone really good. And breath work, good food, taking my shoes off, being in nature, exercise. I was taking the St. John's wort herb which was like a natural supplement that I also attribute to helping. Basically, I did all the stuff that like naturally that I could do to help bring myself back into a state of health.
Yeah.
And I listened to lots of Tony Robbins and spiritual audio books, Ram Dass, I think people like him. And over time, came back out of this really low point, back through baseline, and then kept going. Like my well-being increased way just up and up and up. And I started to feel really good again.
Yeah.
Like from a place of being real solid inside.
Yeah.
And it's funny what happened, because when I got my internal world sorted, I did the hard work over months and months and months to do that. The external world started to reflect abundance and reflect good things again into my reality.
Yeah.
And the funding that I had been trying to get for the business, it almost seems like magical now, but I got all the money that we needed for the business, around almost $600,000, without having to sell any shares in the company.
Yeah.
Through a grant and a loan, and basically it just started manifesting essentially.
Yeah.
And have used that momentum to grow BioGold now into a multi-million-dollar bootstrapped business.
Yeah, it's epic.
One of the best-selling supplements in health stores across the country.
Wow.
Growth as much as we can handle, just like, tens of thousands of repeat customers, and like helping people with this vehicle now as a vehicle for helping people with their health and supporting testosterone levels. And I guess there's definitely a message in there of like, if things aren't working, change your environment, change what you're doing.
Change your location,
especially. Yeah.
Okay, that's a crazy story. Well, I totally agree with you, because I moved from the UK here the day after I got married. And you know how you are not one person, you're 1,000 people, because you're perceived by 1,000 people? It's funny because I still go back to the UK sometimes, very rarely. But, there's almost this disbelief of who I am, apparently. Based on when I was a kid to now, I guess, or my, perceived potential in the UK, perhaps. Quite interesting, though. But I totally agree. Changing your physical location will open up your mind.
Absolutely.
And that I totally have a agreement on that, and wholeheartedly.
The other key part of it was I was really lucky to be gifted a book called Habits, Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah.
Atomic Habits book, basically, and the core idea being that like our identity is shaped by our habits. And I had realized that my habits were absolutely terrible during that tough time, because I didn't have the energy to do good habits, and then it got worse. It was like a downward spiral.
It's reflexive, and it's either negatively reflexive or positively reflexive.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And one of the other important things I did was start to slowly do these micro habit changes to start to slow down the negative spiral, bring it back, and then create that positive spiral. And that can be really, really small steps, especially if someone is suffering from anxiety or depression. It can be like really, really, you like lower the bar in terms of like that progress. But
have you heard of the whole washing the dishes thing?
Tell me.
So it's so I live a very busy, stressful life, of course, being a founder of a business that's, trying to disrupt a very large and powerful industry, amongst having 3 kids and, all the other trials and tribulations you go through. And I use a few things. I have a few tactics where to lower the anxiety or the kind of tension. One is I shower. I think that's a great way to reset. But also I found that I would do the dishes. And although I would do the dishes and I would think, and there's this kind of thing, I think it's in psychology around or wellness and kind of well-being and presence of doing the dishes and actually doing the dishes, not doing the dishes, but actually you're not doing the dishes, you're doing whatever's going on in your head. And obviously my hack for that typically is jiu-jitsu or surfing or something like that, where you have to be present. But like you cannot be present when you're doing the dishes. So then choosing to be present and wash the dishes is just a really interesting thing for me. And it's something I think about. Whereas one is like these little habits can help you obviously make progress, which helps reinforce some good stuff that can then build momentum. But also the how you can use those little things to kind of escape.
Totally. Well, being mindful and present doing the dishes is a great place. It's an easy, achievable place for people to start. And like, easy. Well, is it easy? Yeah. But the idea of like being present and being in the present moment is such a powerful practice for people to come back to, because that's where life happens. Life is a series of present moments. It's all here. Like happiness is found right here in this present moment, and in the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And combining that with positive habits, that is a recipe for success. Power. Yeah, totally.
And I also talk about that on this podcast, so people probably get sick of it, but I talk about that a lot around how essentially, how do I explain it again? So you know how like as a visionary or an entrepreneur or anyone really that has a long-term kind of destination they'd like to hit, or a long-term thing they'd like to see in the world, right? It could also be philanthropic. It could be anything. It could be, any enduring purpose and change is something that's actually maybe not here yet. And as an entrepreneur and an investor, you're exalted for being or living in the future, which means then you're never in the moment. Because what you do as an entrepreneur is you do something and you either have a vision for the future, and then you have to explain to people why you're doing what you're doing and trying to get validation for whatever you're working on. And then they'll give you feedback, and often it will be a rejection. And then you will analyze the past of all the things that you did wrong in that moment to sell your idea or to sell the thing you're doing. And you're kind of flip-flopping between analyzing all the stuff that didn't go well and thinking of a future that doesn't exist yet. And it's addictive. And I think you can lose yourself in both of those places.
I think totally. I think it's hard, and it's balancing. It's balancing all three, maintaining that compelling, like heart-led mission into this future state, while also being present in the moment with what we're currently doing, whether it's the dishes or, editing the website or working on product, whatever it is, while also learning from our mistakes in the past and also what's gone well. Yeah. We have to be in all three planes. It's a challenging undertaking. Yeah.
And it's the kind of the three pillars of like where you're at, where your mind, where your consciousness is, right? Your consciousness is either here or it's somewhere else in the past, or it's somewhere you want to be. And I think people get lost in different places. I've seen family members get lost in the past, all the wrongs that would get repeated in your head, right? And if you get lost there, you don't have the present moment to be grateful for, or a future that could be better.
That's right.
It's an interesting one. And I've definitely, over the phase where my health wasn't great, found that coming out of it, a little bit more aware now. Beautiful. And have learned that I guess.
Beautiful.
If that makes sense.
When I was in Byron Bay last summer, I met a guy who I consider to be the first person I've ever met to be an enlightened being, which is a big statement to make. And he wouldn't say he is necessarily, but I met this guy who had devoted his entire life, he's probably mid-50s, to the present moment.
Okay.
And he just radiated absolute bliss, love, compassion, all the qualities.
Yeah.
Ego was gone. I really searched for it. I couldn't. He was just really. He didn't want anything. He did not want anything. It was just perfectly present, and just breathing in and breathing out, and here he was, and it was just this whole perfect thing. I really got a lot of inspiration about happiness, about presence, about quality of each moment. So yeah, shout out Kenny and Byron Bay.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting battle, right? When me and my wife are talking and we're discussing, this ultimately the sacrifices we're making in order to have a better future, and she goes, "Oh, was you just expect us to just wait until that arrives?" And as an investor, there's a lot of doing stuff now and living in the now, the present, and there is also living to fight another day and surviving and actually, waiting, right? And I think there's an extreme in both areas of presence, right, and a long-term kind of vision.
Absolutely.
And there's both have its, because if you're too in the present moment for now, it's not about being, because I guess there's a misinterpretation around being present and living for now. You can be present without living for now and looking for short-term gratification. And I think that's actually what I was saying.
Totally. Absolutely. I think that for me, the sweet spot, I feel, is having this future vision that is the direction moving towards, and while being present, having faith that you're going to get there, while also being grateful for the present moment and grateful for the past, and holding that together. I think if we forget any of them, we're in trouble.
Yeah. I think it's like one of those situations where I think while things are going well, we kind of get a little bit complacent and we feel like there's stability, like there's real true stability. And I guess you can do things to get that. But actually we're all 2 or 3 bad decisions or circumstances away from, it not being like that. And I think appreciating that fragility is really quite helpful too.
Totally.
I'm
in the mind that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I used to think it was all random, but now I think it's all meant to happen. Every single mistake, and you mentioned a couple of bad decisions, away from it all crumbling or whatever. I think anything that happens is for us part of our expansion and path, and I make mistakes like we all do. And I feel like I've at a point where I now have faith that those mistakes are going to lead to some learning that is going to ultimately make me stronger, more aware, more compassionate.
That's perfect, because that's actually that's where I was trying to go. Perfect, because we're only a couple decisions away from it being pretty again, but then it's okay, right? Because it happened for a reason. There'll be a lesson in it, and then you can just keep going.
We're also only a couple of decisions away from like absolute success.
That's right.
Yeah, from all of like a huge impact.
It's asymmetric. There's so many things we do that are actually really asymmetric.
That's right. Yeah. And that's one thing I love about business is that one idea, one person, one update, it can be the trigger of this whole unfolding and whole other level, and identifying those high leverage triggers is extremely fun for me.
True.
I love that. I'm good at identifying opportunities, and I've recently learned that
signal versus noise.
The
more present you are, the more the noise is starting to fade.
Exactly.
And then you're honed in. Have you ever read Stealing Fire?
No.
So I've got 3 book recommendations for you, which I think would be awesome, but also great for anyone, because they're some of my top books that I kind of have impacted me personally. One is Stealing Fire, which is about finding flow and ultimately finding purpose. And it goes through this history of how people have used different methods, whether it be music or substances, to basically find flow. So that's really awesome, Stealing Fire. And then there's Mastery, it's Deep Work, which is all about how to basically get momentum and actually do the work. And the last one, which is connected to the good and bad decisions, is Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, which is all about disassociating outcomes from decisions. And that one I think you'd love.
Tell me more about that third one of the essence.
Yeah, so Annie Duke was a world-class professional poker player. And she learned a lot over many years from playing poker professionally and going to these cash games and going to these tournaments. And she learned a lot about how people would act and how people would react. And she built basically a framework around how to make a decision with the information you have, which is what poker's about, and then being okay with the outcome because you know that it's probability based. So rather than, going all in and losing, even though you had great odds, and getting kind of like completely distraught by it, just accepting that you actually had a 90% chance to win and you didn't. And that translates into business, and it transformed my life after exiting from the gaming platform I built, because, I had made a bunch of decisions and we got to an outcome, but I was still living with those decisions and the different pathways prior, right? And it just taught me that actually, with the information I have today, would I have made that decision, or at that time, would I have made that decision? And with the information I have today, we're going to make a decision and it's going to be okay. And it's not going to mean that I'm not that decision. I am making that decision,
Totally. I think, I'm not that decision. I'm making that decision. I feel like there's a risk I've seen in entrepreneurship where people, especially when it's tough, really the connection between self-worth and the business. So like if the business is not going great, I'm not great, I must not be great.
Yeah.
Or if the business is going really well, I must be awesome.
Yes.
The way I look at it is that the business is something that I'm doing, or it's doing me.
Yeah.
But I also exist as a being outside of that as well, and I have other parts of my energy and life that are valuable in their own right.
Yeah.
And I think actually taking a little distance from our self-worth and the success or failure of what the projects that we're working on is a really healthy thing to do, because there's always going to be ups and downs and always going to be challenges. And I hope that if there's someone listening that is going through a hard time in their business or the projects that they're working on, it doesn't mean that they're a failure, it just means that project's having a hard time. And just maintaining that focus on getting our internal systems and our energy and our health really strong so that we can give the best to the business and the projects and the people that we love.
I like that a lot. Yeah, it's totally true. That's awesome. So I guess, you've built this amazing business. It's turning over millions of dollars a year. It's having health impacts on people, and you have customers that love your product. What does success look like for you in 5 years?
Great question. So 5 years, yeah. I feel like the impact of what we're doing with pine pollen is only still very early. So despite getting some good signals now, in 5 years' time, I hope that more people globally can be impacted with the healing properties of pine pollen, and that we can, at that point, have turned a whole lot of our profit from the business into impact in community and other areas, and supporting various community projects, charities. That would be amazing.
Success.
Yeah, that would be success, because my own personal needs are only so much. This business is going to generate a large amount of that, like way more than I could possibly use.
Yeah.
And it's my wish that it can be distributed in ways that benefit a lot of people outside of myself. Yeah.
Interesting. And I'll then maybe move on to okay, that's cool. So how do you want to spend the last 10 years of your life then?
Great question. The last 10 years of my life.
Last 10.
Yeah. So
what's the vision for the last 10 years of your life?
I've never thought about that until right now. What's coming to mind is relationships, family. Looking to have a family soon is on the cards for me and my partner. So the last 10 years, I would hope, would be spent with family and children and grandchildren, and celebrating the gift that would it have been at that point to be here on Earth for however many years. And I hope at that point I'll be more present than ever, more.
Do you have a vision
loving
in mind of what the view would look like of where your habit would take you every day, with your walk or whatever? Do you have an idea of what your surroundings would be like?
I'm a beach guy.
Okay.
So I like to spend time by the beach. I live in Ohopi near Whakatane in the Bay of Plenty, right by the beautiful beach. And I think I'll continue living by the beach. Well, I'll be by the beach somewhere for sure.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Cool. And then last thing would be, you've built 2 amazing businesses in their own right, running their own race. But they're both common in that they were B2C. I know that there's a big B2B component now in your business, but in essence, the brand is consumer. So you've bootstrapped 2 successful businesses to consumer success, which is really hard, and takes a lot of time and trust and all sorts of complications that don't exist necessarily in B2B. So what would be the message that you wanted to send those bootstrapping founders that are building something B2C?
Focus on helping people. That's really, for me, what business is finding a way to work out what gifts we have to give, and then giving them and serving people, helping people. That is business. The more that we help people and actually solve a problem, or give them something of value that they want, the better we do. And it's a result of helping people that some of the projects I've worked on have been successful. And the level to which I'm able to go out and serve others is going to be the level of success which I reach, or which anyone reaches. It's a mirroring.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I would focus on that.
How do you survive? I guess, right? I know I've got my own stories.
Yeah.
But, you know, because a lot of people, especially now that VC is so big, they're like, oh, well, I can't do anything until I get funding.
Yeah.
I'm limited until I get endowed by these people that may have never actually started anything themselves.
So that's a massive limiting belief. And I mean...
And that's not their fault. That's an inner belief that we may tell ourselves as entrepreneurs, right? As we put, oh, I need that validation to get started. Whereas every VC goes, oh, by the way, we're wrong all the time.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So the whole thing of raising capital, again, I believed that was kind of the only way. I'd heard of bootstrapping, but it just kind of, the message that I had heard, it was too hard, uncertain, too slow, all those kind of things. And it wasn't until, honestly, pretty recently that I've realized, whoa, like, there's all this glorification of capital raising on LinkedIn or wherever. But my friends who have raised capital, when I'd speak with them on the phone,
they're unhappy.
They're like, some of them are pretty stressed. Yeah. To be honest, like some of them are doing awesome, but making sure they get the right investors is a huge thing. But the how to survive bit without, so say you want to try bootstrapping, maybe raise capital down the line if you choose to, but it's a good idea to try bootstrap at least, because then even you're going to hopefully get some revenue, which if you then want to raise investment, it's going to be way easier. Like everything you can do to like get some early traction and actual revenue is just awesome. So, but in terms of how to survive, have a part-time job. That's basically what it is. Like if you have any source of income at all,
you can't lose.
We
have a principle in our company which is live to trade another day.
Exactly. So some of the best piece of advice I got when I was really early in my company was, for a startup, there's two things that matter more than anything. One is find product market fit.
Yeah.
And two is don't run out of money. So and I was like, okay, cool. So I managed to get some funding from grants, but I also had like savings. I had, I did some consulting. I just like some income, enough to just basically have money for food. I lived in my parents' garage, just do whatever it takes to like get enough to get by, while aggressively going for product market fit, speaking with customers, trying to help people solve problems, create a prototype of something and sell it.
Yeah.
And it's going to look funny and it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. But, the first time I sold something, I was like, I had this research sample of this liquid pine pollen extract, and I had this guy come into the office and I was just talking about it. And he goes, oh, how much is that? To buy it. And I go, oh no, it's not for sale. It's just like a research sample for the lab. And he's like, opens his wallet and he's like, how much for that? I want that. And I was like, whoa, someone wants to pay for me. I was like, but it's not finished. It's not ready. These were all these limiting beliefs in my mind. But that first sale would like changed everything. Because I was like, well, if this guy's keen, like maybe there's, all these other people that are keen. And then just basically went from there of finding more people, getting their feedback, improving the product, finding more people, What we were also doing research at the same time. But if I didn't have the grants, it would be have a part-time job.
Yeah.
Don't quit your main, if you're working a full-time job, even if you hate it and you have this other project you want to start, don't quit until you get some revenue going from your side project that you can then turn into the full-time project.
Yeah, for sure.
Once you got all the signals aligned, all the green lights on the dashboard, of course quit. You want to put it in.
That's right. Until
that point, just keep that balance, work extra hours, go hard, do what you have to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that because it's so fashionable to raise capital, we underestimate as founders that we are giving away our soul. And you kind of managed to avoid that, which is nice.
The thing, I tried multiple times to raise investment for the company, and I was unsuccessful every time. There was always something that was just not quite right or whatever. And at the time I was like, oh, this is terrible. I'm gutted. But now I look back and I'm like, I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful.
Oh my gosh.
Because now, like the size of one angel round, which I would have given away
20%
of my company, we do that in revenue in 1 month.
Yeah.
And it's just like, once it's at that point of where it's like profitable, or you've found product market fit and managed to not run out of money, then they're not run out of money, but is actually like less of a risk if you have good financial planning.
Yeah.
And the product market fit piece, if you've achieved that, is going to just take you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can just do the maths, right? Like you can go, well, I could build a company up, raise lots of capital, sell it for 750 million, right? But I own 5% or whatever, right? Or guess what? You build a $50 million business and you own 100%. Do the math, see who makes more.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like such a thing.
I think like it might be different for different industries. Like
there's capital intensity and stuff. But you look at Telegram, right? Yeah. Telegram's a huge business. He owns 100%.
Yeah.
So like it is possible no matter what. Could Buffett have built the empire he had without the early shareholders, without actually buying a public company? Like you say, it's not that you shouldn't do it, because actually you want partners. Actually, you want partners more than not having partners, because you'd rather a bunch of shareholders that you can trust and that are aligned to you and your vision to go to battle with you.
Totally.
Much better than going on your own.
Absolutely.
But it's like, how do you, just be aware that if you do any dilutionary fundraising or anything like that, you are giving a bit of yourself in order to get capital to make progress.
So I did an analysis of my desires for raising capital at one point, and that was a really interesting exercise, because I realized that why did I want to raise investment at the time? One was validation. I wanted to feel validated by people that were successful, that I, was worthy of it and I had a good idea. I wanted that validation. But then I managed to find that through basically finding customers and selling a product. Right. And then I also realized I wanted, it was like an ego thing.
Status.
I wanted status. I wanted, to feel like I had achieved something. I feel like I wanted, that side of it. But that was, when I look at that, that's hollow. That's not a good reason why you should raise investment at all. And I found that through my own self-worth and through my progress and my own journey and that kind of thing. And I kind of let that go. The third reason I wanted capital at the time was connections. And that's a genuine reason. Then I realized, okay, but is there hypothetically other ways to get the connections that I need? Yeah. And of course there is. There's heaps of ways to do that.
Tons.
Yeah. So I have actually been very blessed to join different networks and have connections that now if I, whatever, cool, I can probably find someone who knows the right person and that's cool. So, all right. So now if I don't need the connections anymore from the investment, and if I don't need the ego boost, and if I don't need the status, and then if I also have revenue from at least a few early customers, then why would I? There might be a case for accelerating growth.
Yep.
And totally. And look, I might turn around and be like, "Hey, Charlie, I raised a round," but I don't need to. And that's the key thing, is that,
and that makes your business more valuable. And as soon as you don't need to raise capital, your valuation is much stronger.
Exactly. It also makes it more likely if I do want to go raise capital. If I don't need it, it's a whole energy thing. The investors are like, oh, you don't need us, but it would be nice. Versus someone who's like, please, I need the money. It's it's a whole desperation thing. Yeah. And avoiding desperation, it's just and the other reason we talked about B2C and B2B was that there's a huge B2B opportunity for BioGold. Yeah. But I realized that if we didn't have a B2C side, we didn't have our own sustainable, solid business, and we're just relying on these deals, there's a massive power imbalance where we need them.
Yeah.
And if they fall through, we're screwed.
Well, they turn you off.
Yeah. And by actually creating a sustainable, direct to consumer business that is profitable in its own right,
Yeah.
means that we can have B2B discussions from a much more relaxed place of just like, oh, this would be cool to do. And if they're keen and it's feeling right, we'll do it. But not like, oh, we need them to say yes because
we need to make payroll.
So it's a cool position.
That's nice. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and spending the time. I really appreciate it. And thanks.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Awesome.